Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Apni Neev with us. I am Amna Ansari, and currently I am a senior research psychologist at ASCC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Noirahi. I'm a psychologist and I'm currently associated with ASCC as a senior research psychologist. And a very warm welcome to everyone watching us, and even a warmer welcome to Miss Sangeeta. Um, I'm excited to introduce Miss Sangeeta to all of you today. She's the franchisee owner of EuroKids International Preschool in Madurai. She has been running the preschool for more than 15 years and is the sole franchisee owner of EuroKids in Madurai. She is a board member in MPF International School and is an expert in soft skill development of students. She has extensive experience in spoken English coaching, personality development, and handwriting courses. She is a regular guest speaker for most of the engineering and art colleges. She conducts spoken English and personality development courses in colleges, helping over 50,000 students to get through job interviews and group discussions. She is a graduate in mathematics. Her passion towards children and strong people management skills made her to take up this career. She enjoys driving, pencil sketching, and is a proud mother of two. A very warm welcome to you, Miss Sangeeta.
Yeah. Um, Good afternoon. And I really am happy to be here as a part of your team. And I'm looking forward to the interview actually.
So, Ms. Sangeeta, we'll begin with one of the most pressing topics these days, and that is the COVID, the pandemic. So, our first question would be, what are the main challenges being faced by children in their personality development during COVID-19, since there's lockdown and they can't meet people, they can't go out?
Yeah, right. So here I take it that we are talking about children between 2 to 7 years of age. Right. See, there are children at this age are supposed to socialize with others. I think that is the first challenge that all of us are facing. Children are not able to socialize with their peer group children. So what is happening is since children are not able to communicate with the peer group children, they they have less opportunity communicating with them, which in turn has reduced their communicative skills and which has reduced their what should I say? They're not able to easily communicate with others, learning vocabulary, using it in an appropriate way. All these are being a challenge to the child. The second thing is that since children are not able to mingle with the peer group children and the parents are not able to take care of them on a full-term basis, children are without any other choice getting used to gadgets. What happens when the child uses gadgets is there is an ocular lock. The child is only using his eyes to look at it in passive learning, which in turn affects his auditory system, which in turn affects his speaking also. This is the first challenge that most of the children are facing. We have find, like I already said, we found that children are lagging in their speaking skills. The second one is that, see, these children are full of energy. Energy needs to be spent by them physically. And most of us are in apartment culture and nuclear families. We are not able to take the children outside. And children, they don't have any kind of physical activities, which keeps accumulating their energy, which in turn leads to frustration for the children. So how do they show their frustration? They start throwing tantrums, temper throws. It is also affecting their um, uh, you know um, their appetite. So the first thing is that I see a lot of speech deficiency, speech deficit in the child. The second thing I see is that the child has a lot of emotional problems, tantrums and all that. The third one is the appetite of the child, which is also not good. I think these are the three main challenges that the parent is facing, and the parents have no idea as to how to deal with it.
That's absolutely correct. I think that you've summed it up really beautifully, that these are certain challenges and why we are facing these challenges. What is the reason behind it? So, that kind of intrigues me, and I would like to ask that in what ways can preschool teachers, what ways can they adopt to enhance learning in the young ones through online mode of teaching? Because, like you mentioned, that is a challenge being faced. So, what are the methods and methodologies that can be used? by the
All right.
teachers to overcome? Yeah.
Great. See, like I already said, whatever said and done, nothing compares to the child coming physically to school. That is the best that can happen to the child. But now that we have no other choice, we are settling down with the second best. It's not that I will give my child the best, else I will not give child anything. We will have to settle down with the second best, right? So what exactly can be done with the second best from the teacher's side? The children can be, there are two types of learning. One is a passive learning, like I already said, that the other one is an active learning. Passive learning is something where only conversation happens on one part of the screen, where the child remains idle and only the screen keeps talking. Something like YouTube rhymes, where the child is only able to move his eyeballs. Other than that, you find there is no movement or there is no conversation from the part of the child. Active learning is something where the communication happens on both the sides, where the teacher gives some instruction to the child and the child is able to follow it, right? There comes again the challenge, the attention span of the child. It is actually encouraged for the child, it is all right for the child to have an active online session somewhere between 60 minutes to 90 minutes, but the attention span of the child should also be taken into account, right? The attention span of children between 2 to 7 years of age is their age plus 3 minutes. That is all as the attention span of the child. So if you take a 3-year-old child, hardly the attention span of the child is going to be 6 to 7 minutes. That needs to be taken into account during an online class. Like I already said, children are full of energy. So before we make them sit and listen and relax their mind, we need to start with an activity that keeps them physically active. Probably the teacher should have into mind all these attention span of the child and divide her class accordingly. Probably the first activity will be an active activity where the teacher sings the rhymes, make the children get up, stand, jump, roam about, run around, and all that. By the time the child spends the energy, the child's mind is going to be peaceful, the child is going to be sober. Now make the child sit, give him a passive activity. It could be introduction of a concept, it could be introduction of some kind of an activity to the child. Now that the child will be able to listen. Again, the attention span is going to be from 7 to 10 minutes. Give another active activity for the child. So this is how the teacher needs to take the child, an active activity and a passive activity. I think this combination will actually make the children settle down. The class can be taken from 60 to 90 minutes for these children with these kind of activities. And apart from the academics, it is also mandatory that these children are involved in so many other co-curricular activities. So these are also to be a part of activity done by the teacher, not just the curriculum. The teacher also needs to take into account the fitness of the child, the physical fitness of the child, the mental fitness of the child, the emotional stress that the child is undergoing. All these also have to be taken into account and the curriculum needs to be planned accordingly.
Right. So basically, what the teachers need right now is to understand the overall development of the child, how their
Correct.
brain works, and how their physical, how their body works, and things like those. So
Correct.
since now we have talked about the child's personality development and what teachers can do to enhance learning, we'll come to what parents can do. Some tips and tricks for the parents to enhance their child's personality development since they're not going out.
Right. That's actually a good question. As for the parents, parents basically are clueless. See, let us be very frank. Let us also understand that all these years before COVID, the parent had a hardly 2 to 3 hours with the child. You know, the child goes to school in the morning, wakes up, the child gets ready, goes to school in the morning. The child spends somewhere around 8 hours of his prime time in school. The child comes back home and the parent sits with the child for 2 to 3 hours, engage the child with homework and all the other activities, feed the child, put him to sleep, and then the routine continues. But now it is going to be a 24/7 work for the parents, and parents are clueless as to how to engage the child. So basically, let us start with the sleeping pattern of the child. See, initially when COVID, when there was a lockdown announced, we hardly had 600 cases of COVID, and within the next 3 weeks, it rose up to 13,000 to 16,000. So initial lockdown period, let us be honest, we all thought we were having a vacation for 3 weeks lockdown, right? We enjoyed the lockdown, and what happened is, as parents, the parents themselves, since it was a lockdown, everything was changed. It was an entertainment, it was a free time for the parent rather than and it was going to be new normal to them. So what happened is we set a bad example for the child by our sleeping patterns to start with. We slept late at night, we watched TV, we entertained ourselves, and we set a bad routine. So when the first thing that actually affected the sleeping time of the children, you could have find that so many children sleep late at night and wake up late in the morning. Late night owls. So this is the first thing that needs to be changed. So as parents, sleeping 8 hours continuously is something that's very, very, very important for the child. Else the child will start, it will actually reflect out as the child throwing tantrums, the child being irritated all the time and all that. So set a sleeping pattern for the child. Sleep early, wake up early. Let us start there. The second thing is that you can actually divide your activity with the child into 3 different parts. The first one is engage yourself with the child for some time. You can have a family time, sit together, no gadget time, have some board games, maybe world building activity, engage with the child in some kind of a toy. Children between 2 to 7 years are very good imitators. They will love playing with all the small kitchen gadgets, transport and all that. Imitate with them, play with them, doctor set and all that. So that is one thing that you can do. The second thing is set some course for the child. Once the child wakes up in the morning, help the child brush himself independently. Let him make his bed. So set some assigned work for the child. Let the child know that he or she is a part of the home, so that they have their own work to do. That's the second thing. The third thing is give the child some downtime. There are parents who always think that the time should always be positively, the child should positively be engaged. While the child has some free time, let it be a certification course done by the child or something for a reward. That need not be encouraged. See, boredom basically leads to creativeness in this age. So let the child have a time of his own. Inherently, children between 2 to 7 years, they tend to do something that actually helps their nervous system. So let us give them that downtime where they are free. So if you could divide your time into 3 different segments, like a family time, giving some chores for the child, and giving the child his own time, I think it is going to work out beautifully. And this is also the time where the children tend to push their limits. This is an age where they tend to push their limits. They will see how far we can go with the parent. It is basically be real. As parent, be real. When you are getting irritated, let the child know that you are getting irritated. Again, we are also, parents are also in the learning process. We are also evolving and learning. We also tend to make mistakes. Accept it. You don't have to be harsh on yourself. So all these things, I think, will help the parents.
Well, that was, again, I think all the tips that you shared right now, all the points that you discussed with us are very relevant and important. I think a lot of parents who are listening to us right now can relate, or even caregivers at home would relate to what you just said. The part about boredom, it actually leads to creativity, but
Yes,
sometimes parents feel that is something we can't afford. Oh, the child is
correct.
getting bored. We must do something about it.
Correct.
That's right. So, Ms. Sangeeta, how, we keep hearing about social emotional learning that's coming up a lot now. So, how do you think social emotional learning is helpful? Keeping in mind that due to COVID, everything changed, the dynamic changed. With and without COVID, I mean, how do you think that social emotional learning has a beneficial impact on the growth of the child?
Right. It is something that has a huge impact on the child. Imagine a child who is crying or throwing tantrums. Most of the time, the parent will not be able to understand why the child is crying. Is he crying because he's sleepy? Is he crying because he is hungry? Is he crying because he has some kind of, is he feels some kind of a pain? Parents have no idea about it. So if we teach the child first how to communicate his emotion rather than doing it as a reflex action, it will actually be very, very helpful both for the parent and for the child. A lot of time saves. Children are peaceful, parents are peaceful. When the child says, mama, I'm really angry, I'm not happy about this, if the child is able to vocalize his feelings rather than let his feelings out, then that itself is a huge achievement from the parent. And it is very important at this point of time to have a balance between this social emotional. See, emotions are always healthy, all kind of emotions. It's not like anger is a negative emotion or jealousy is a negative emotion. When we teach the child mindfulness, the child tends to first understand what emotions is going on in his mind. The child learns to what do I say, understand his feelings. He filters it, and then talking about that feeling will actually be beneficial rather than feeling it and letting it out. Feeling the emotion is always okay, but letting it out without filtering, that is what is not okay. So when you teach this child the social emotional balance, it is going to be extremely helpful both for the child and for the parent as in. So it also brings about a wholesome development in the child. That is when it all starts. A child who is able to understand emotions will be able to understand the emotion of not just his emotion. He will be able to show empathy towards others. The child will have a very genuine relationship with others. His friendship is going to be really good. He will see things from different perspectives, not just his own. So all these are definitely going to be very, very important. I think this is something that is the most important in development of the child. So I think it is uh, good that we have come up with this concept and we are trying to establish this concept.
So thank you so much. I think that was a very, very informative session, and it was very well detailed. And I think a lot of people who will be watching this will get a lot of help out of this, especially parents. As you said, they have no clue what exactly is going on. So thank you so much, Ms. Sangeeta, for being with us and for answering all our questions so well. And we hope to see you in our event as well.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.